Hey, Greg, it's good to
Nev,
see you again, man. How are you, brother?
how you been, man? You good?
Yeah, man. Yeah, been
Right on. Yeah, same here.
yeah, that's good to hear, dude. I think, man, when was the last time we spoke? Oh man, it's going back a
Would
little
it have
while.
been? Was it for Killer Be Killed? Maybe it might have been for a Killer Be Killed
It
record.
was. It was, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to talk to
right
you
on,
again, dude.
man.
Yeah, man,
You
absolutely.
too, brother.
Well, of course, I did see you just dropped a new Better Lovers track overnight. That was a bit of a surprise to wake up to.
Yeah, we've been. It's crazy. We recorded that we only recorded it like 3 weeks ago. And we turned it around really fast. But it's actually it feels like we've been sitting on it for a minute. As soon as you have something done, you're like so eager to put it out that just even like the last 3 weeks have been like everyone's like, come on, can we get this thing out already? But yeah, it feels good to have it out. That's it's kind of an ass beater of a song.
It's a banger, dude. Hey, it was a good
Well, we
thing.
were playing it live. We've been playing it live for like 3 or 4 months now. So like it's that's one of the cooler things that I haven't done in a really long time is play songs before we release them and try to like you kind of work them out while you're playing shows. Like I haven't done that since like before Miss Machine Dillinger. So like 20 years ago, would have been the last time that we kind of road tested songs. And then you get stuck in this thing where you don't want to do that because
Mhm.
everyone's filming with their phones and you don't want some like uncooked version of a song floating around out there. But I just got to the point where I'm like, who fucking cares? Like I don't care. Let people have some unfinished version of a song. I was just throwing shit at the wall every night, man. Like trying out different vocal patterns, trying out different things, and seeing what clicked and what didn't. And it was actually really fucking cool to be able to do that in front of an audience and like not because sometimes you do shit in the studio and it sounds great, but then like you play it live and you're like, oh, that's fucking, that little bit it takes I didn't think about that I have to breathe and run, in between all this, in the studio, you're not running around, doing all kinds of shit. So no, it was cool. I'm excited to have it out.
Have you gone back and watched those videos and sort of picked it apart before,
No.
people's nah, you just did it off memory?
Well, what happens? Yeah, you get like one show in or two, and I have like a loose map of kind of what I want to do, and then you do something and you realize that like, oh, that doesn't stick quite the way I want it to, but this part does. So I'm gonna, I'll remember this part, I'll go over it like that, the next day, like in my head, like listening to it, because we had the instrumental of it recorded already. So I was, listening to the instrumental, like, okay, cool. I liked this part that I did, but I wasn't real sold on this. Let me try something else. And a lot of times it's just fully improv. Like when we get to the part, I'll just, let it rip and see what happens. And then, it's all gibberish too. Like I'm just singing and screaming complete gibberish when I'm doing that, like just vowels and consonants and shit. And then, little by little, over the course of a 20 show run or something, or even like 10 shows, you start to get a line here, a line there, and you're like, oh
Mm.
shit, I think this song is going to be about this. And then, it starts to fill itself in. And that was a really cool process because usually I just do that on my own at home, I'm not doing it in front of people. So it was, just had a different energy about it to do it that way.
I'm going through that at the moment. See, that's the way I work as well. I just gibberish until something starts feeling right. But I'm
That's pretty
stuck
much my life. Yeah.
but I'm stuck on this one fucking bit and I just can't. I don't know, man. If you ever have that and you just can't crack that code, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere you're like, oh, I'll just do this.
Yeah, I've had that happen a few times, and it's always, if I give myself a deadline, like a really hard deadline
Hmm.
on something, that will usually it forces me to get something, and
Yep.
what I find happens is my brain starts to like go into overdrive, like when it knows the time's running out, and like maybe like the day before I'm out of studio time and it has to, I have to start getting this thing mixed. I'll have some sort of a breakthrough on it. But yeah, that happened really bad on my last solo record. I just could not like the first song that I had written musically was that song Lowered, and I just could not get a vocal to it. I don't know
Oh,
why. Like I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't. It was to the point where I was in the studio and Steve Evans was like, dude, if you don't come up with something for this, like we're gonna have to leave this song off the record, And that was like literally like 2 or 3 days before we were out of time, and then it ended up working itself out. So, but yeah, things Shit happens, man. That's really frustrating, though. I understand fully.
But it's funny because that song "Lowered" is one of my favorite songs. Like now, it's one of my favorite
Yeah,
songs
me too. Me
ever.
too. It's crazy how that happens. Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool, man. Thank you.
yeah. Fuck, man, I love that song. Actually, who was it that I heard? I think it was Nine Inch Nails. What song was it? It was on the Fragile. I remember reading an interview ages ago, and they couldn't nail it. I think it's we're in this together now. I think like they
Oh,
just
really?
couldn't. Yeah, I think it like Trent just couldn't nail it. He's like, I just don't know why we can't get this part. And then all they did was turn the drums up for the chorus and then turn it back down again, and it made it work. And it wasn't.
Yeah, it really. What happens is you start like getting too like you're looking at something from the same perspective for so long that you can't it's you're starting to like get in like a weird, it doesn't even sound right anymore. You know how you look at a word long enough, the word will start to look fucking weird. Like it doesn't even look like English anymore. You're like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? But yeah, I feel like it's like that with a part. Like you get stuck on it, and then like you just can't. You see it happen in sports too, man. You see a guy that's like suddenly goes through a slump, and you can just tell, like he's like, you know what you're doing, man. Why, like you're just overthinking it now. Like just doing some simple thing that suddenly he sucks at out of nowhere. But yeah, I also think there's a thing with, we're in this together now is obviously like a big single type of song, and they knew that. And I knew that about Lowered too. Like I knew that Lowered was like, fuck, I was like, this is really already catchy, like with the guitar part and such. And like I was like, fuck, I don't want to fuck this up. Like I gotta really nail this one. And I'm sure Trent was aware of that with We're in This Together now too, because it's obvious just by the music that it's a single. Like it's got to have some big chorus and all that shit. And like when you start thinking like that, sometimes it can get you out of your head a little. But
Yeah.
yeah, just having a different perspective, like you said, turning the drums up or changing the mix a little or muting something or just trying to come at it from a different angle is really beneficial. But for me, it was getting a kind of a guest vocalist with Reba, and that really kind of put some fire under me to finish it. Because when I asked her to come do a guest vocal, I had no idea what she was even going to do. So like
Yeah.
I got to the studio like a few hours before her, and me and Steve Evans were there, and he was like, so Reba's coming over to do this vocal, and I was like, yeah. He was like, what is she gonna sing? And I was like, I have no idea. And he was like, well, we better start fucking figuring this out. So we managed to whip up like the verse and chorus, like kind of basic melodies. Like I said, like really fast after I had been stumped on that song for like a year, and suddenly just having like an immediacy
Mm.
of deadline, something happened. So I don't know, you got to trust yourself, but giving yourself a real deadline is hard too, because you can always just blow past it and be like, oh, who cares? So you got to train your brain into
Mm.
respecting that deadline.
And she's amazing too. Like that.
Ridiculous.
Oh man, that new Code Orange album's fucking sick. She's
That song
amazing.
Mirror is incredible.
Oh,
Incredible. She's got just such a phenomenal, so phenomenally creative, and her voice, I mean, as a singer, her voice is so, I mean, she's thought of as a guitar player,
mm,
mainly, but her voice is fucking incredible, man. She's got so much power, and like her tone of voice is so unique. It's such an interesting tone for a female voice.
yeah.
So yeah, she blew me away. Like when she came into the studio, I was like, fuck, man. Like she came in and she was just kind of like, I was in the control room with Steve, which is a really unique place for me to be. Steve Evans, the producer, because usually I'm in the booth and Steve is producing me. He's talking to me, listening to me, and I was in there with him, and I was listening to her, and we couldn't see her. Like we have the booth set up so that you can't see the person in the booth, and they can't see you. You're just talking to them, through the headphones. And she did a take, and like, when she got to the end of the take, she like, stepped on the gas and like cranked it so hard, like the kind of power element of it.
Yeah.
And then like we stopped recording, and like we're sitting in silence, and then me and Steve were just like, holy shit, like where'd that come from? And like, she couldn't hear us talking, and then she was like, was that okay? Like I can do that, like not as full on. And we were like, no. That was Dude, that was great. You're good, But yeah, she's a phenomenal talent, man.
And man, you're coming back to Australia for a solo tour, which is very, very exciting. A lot of people I know are looking forward to this tour, man. Are we going to be seeing or hearing some of those tracks from Mirrorcell and maybe a few other bits and pieces throughout your career?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to throw together a different set than we played in the US, just to keep it fresh for us too. So we're gonna, if anyone looks up the set lists that we had been playing, we're definitely gonna add to that and switch it up, because I know especially in Australia, like there'll be people coming to different shows, so that might come to the same ones. Someone might come to Melbourne and Sydney, or Sydney and Brisbane, So I want to make sure that we can keep it fresh. But I like to. I don't want to. I try to respect the bands that I'm in and have been in by not, playing stuff from any of the bands. I feel like it's, once every now and then maybe do like a reworking of something. Like we did One of Us Is a Killer a couple times when we were in Europe last, and like I honestly I didn't like it. Like I really like felt like it was. That was the first time I'd ever tested that out, and I was like, that's a Dillinger song. I think about Maynard and I'm like, does Maynard go on tour and play Tool songs with Perfect Circle? Does he play, do they play Perfect Circle songs with Pussifer? So you kind of got to leave everything alone and kind of respect the thing for what it is. But then, it's tough because, I tour with Jerry, and Jerry plays Alice in Chains songs at his shows, and, so some people do that. And it's just about what feels right for you. I don't think there's any wrong or right, but I think maybe, yeah, for me, it still feels a little abnormal to play songs from a band, even if that band's defunct. Like it still feels weird to me to play songs, during a solo thing. It's its own thing.
Well, each time I've seen you play, I've seen you play with different projects over the years. Like the Black Queen, I'm a big fan of that project. And I feel like every time I've seen you, I've had a different experience. Like I don't know how to put
No,
that
I
into words,
understand.
man. But it's cool. It's cool because it's like a different parts of your personality coming through in each project. It,
Thanks, man. Yeah, that's what I try to do. Yeah, I try to like take, whatever vibe I'm touching on that thing. I try to just isolate it and like go as far into it as possible. Like, and not like, it's easy when you have multiple things to, I can keep this vibe isolated. Dillinger was a little all over the place, but then once Dillinger broke, like it was easy for me to sort of split everything off into different compartments. Like Kill Be Killed is very obviously, the part of me that's super into metal, the 15-year-old where all I listened to was thrash and metal, and I can isolate that part of me and steer into it. And the Black Queen is a particular vibe that is very, very particular. And even with writing, like that band, the vibe of it is so particular and delicate that I don't, if I'm not in the exact headspace for it, I won't even attempt to write for it. And then Better Lovers now is sort of kind of taking on this like just purely ferocious type of thing. But the solo thing, yeah, I'm the solo thing's a little open ended, so it's more of
yeah.
like I think the solo thing is more of my overall everyday personality, but it's still like a little bit, Mirrorcell is, I feel like lyrically fairly, a lot of lyrics I write end up being fairly depressing, or like, in that record particularly, I feel like Mirrorcell was a little bit more depressing of a record than like lyrically, not sonically, but, it's the weird things about that is that then it comes time to play those kinds of things and you're not really in that headspace anymore.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to just get into the song, like as far as just get into the music of it and the sound of it and the sonics of it and the enjoyment of singing it and things like that, and not let yourself, you're if you're far away, you should try to be far away from things that were upsetting you a couple of years ago. I don't want to force myself to stay there just for some type of you performance art or something.
Yeah. No, I get that one, man. Yeah. We just like, what was it? I know I was going through something, but I don't feel that same way now. It's like, oh, okay. So, but yeah, man, it looks like we've got to wrap
I
up.
use,
Sorry, bro.
I'm
You've got
losing
more
it a little bit.
on the way.
Oh, all good, man. We could
Yeah.
always keep going. We can keep going. Yeah, another time.
Oh man, I would love to catch up with you again. Maybe in Brisbane. Cool, because I wanted to ask you about Jerry
Fuck yeah.
and your work with him, and because he's one of the best. I love him.
Absolutely, man. Yo,
Yeah.
he's unreal. It's unreal to be around him and just watch him work is fucking batshit, man.
Oh,
It's
man.
crazy. He's a savant. You know, he's insanely gifted, man. It's insanely so. One like just didn't ask for it, given by the universe type of shit, you know.
A blessing to music, that's for sure. But dude, we're gonna have all the links in the show notes down here and on the website. Greg, take care, man, and we're gonna see you very, very soon.
You too, brother. I can't wait to get down there. See you then.